Well, we are now at the beginning of November, and what a month that has been. October 2024, Fiona. I feel I haven't seen you for 6 months, given everything that happened. Firstly, hello, how are you?
Hello, I know. I'm well, thank you. I'm very good. I feel like this episode could probably go on for about 5 hours, couldn't it, if we had the time?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. We had an unreformed bill, we had stamp duty, we had budget, which obviously brought stamp duty changes and other changes. So what do you think that we should discuss today? What do you think that would be the first thing we should discuss? And then maybe we will cover the rest in another podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the main issues that affects our industry is probably the stamp duty for investors for additional properties.
Yes.
I understand the need for it because there are a shortage of homes for people who want to buy residential property. There's a shortage of homes for first-time buyers. But on the flip side of that, I think number one, it would have been nice to probably been given a bit more notice because some landlords have had to pull out of chains, which has caused some chaos. And secondly, I think a housing shortage is one of the issues for first-time buyers, but it's certainly not the main issue. I think there's quite a lot of issues that need to be addressed for first-time buyers. So even though I understand the need for it, it would have been nice to have a bit more notice, and maybe now we need to focus on what else we can do to help people who want to buy their first home as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you because, let's just say the stamp duty increase for additional properties, and also the threshold adjustment that the government has announced, because that will naturally have a big impact on the property market. If you think about it, the surcharge, the stamp duty surcharge for second homes and buy-to-let properties almost doubled if you think about it, because it went from 3% to 5% overnight. And so for every 100,000 that somebody spends on the property, you have £2,000 increase. So if you are looking, for example, at investment property worth 300,000, that's additional 6,000 spent on stamp duty in comparison with what they would spend before, isn't it? If you take it from that way. What you mentioned that few people obviously pulled out from the deals. I think that we had such a challenging decade. I would actually think if you look back, last 4 years certainly haven't been plain sailing since COVID, because the prices went crazily up, and then we had mortgage interest rates increase, and now when market has been somehow settling down, we've got stamp duty increase, so it hasn't been easy ride, that's for sure, for anybody. However, I always think that's how I live. If you stop the water going one way, the water will find another way. So we just need to find the way, and we need to think outside of the box how people can continue with their investment ambitions or plans, how people can continue getting themselves onto property ladder. And obvious one kind of seems, if, for example, an investor is pulling out because all of a sudden there is no additional income to pay for the additional tax, then the first thing that you're thinking is the price adjustment on the property that they are buying. Because we had obviously such massive increase in the value in last few years on the properties. Maybe this will bring another self-adjustment on the prices. What is your thought? Do you think that from your perspective as a mortgage broker, that if somebody, say, is buying a property that is, for the sake of example, 300,000, and they spend additional 6,000 on stamp duty, that buying that property, say, at 294,000 would resolve the additional cost for them? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it would resolve the additional cost for them, but if they're in a chain, the chain may end up collapsing anyhow, because the sellers are going to have to take a hit on that. And if they need every penny to buy their new property, they're not going to be able to accept that. So yeah. I think it's quite a reduction. And I can see that, a lot of chains will fall through. We've had a couple already last week where chains have fallen through because investors, a couple of people who are buying buy-to-lets have said, I'm not going to proceed now. It's not worth it. But, the seller can't take that hit. They can't take a hit on the purchase price. They need every penny for their new property. So I think, chains are going to be falling through, unfortunately, which is a shame. That's why it would have been nice to give us some notice, so we could at least get the ones through that we have going, and people aren't being disappointed because the chain's falling through. Maybe start it in the, beginning of the new tax year might have been a bit more helpful.
Yeah, I do agree, because that's pretty much what happened with the threshold adjustment, where the current stamp duty regime will expire in March 2025. So now, at least, the people who are falling into the category have got until March to complete their purchases before the stamp duty go up, and that's pretty much relevant to first-time buyers, isn't it? Because the tax-free threshold for first-time buyers will decrease from 425,000 to 300,000, but at least they've got pretty much November, December, January, February, March. They've got 5 months until this happens. So if somebody, and that's what I am saying now to first-time buyer, if you've been thinking about buying over next few months, buy immediately now.
Yeah, because it could easily take 4 months for the transaction to go through, because there are delays. Yes. So we're not in the world we used to be, where you could say 10 to 12 weeks, you'll be in your new home. I'm sure, definitely not. It's taking longer now. So yeah, I think now is the time to mop up all the properties that have fallen through because landlords have had to pull out, or investors have had to pull out, and secure your new home, I think.
Yeah. So let's just bring the first-time buyers in to the properties where the investors pulled out. That's the water analogy.
Absolutely, I think so.
And it's really important to get the first-time buyers understand that now is the time. If they are thinking, if they are in position, if they've got deposits saved up, it's not point waiting for anything, because it will be more expensive for them next year.
Yeah, I think so. I think this year has been a year of maybe the first half of the year was a year of people waiting for something to happen in the economy. And then we saw the Bank of England base rate decrease, and definitely saw a spike of people feeling more confident, wanting to buy properties. But we've discussed before, you know, if you want to move home, you know, when is the right time? You know, if you're in rented accommodation and you're waiting for interest rates to drop, potentially, you know, you might make the decision that actually it's better to secure a higher interest rate but own your own home. So I think, you know, people have been waiting for something to happen. Now the market seems to be stimulated. I think now is like a 4-month window to get a purchase secured.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. It will be quite interesting to see how many applications from first-time buyers you will get over next month, and we can perhaps discuss it next month at next podcast, because we will have the data. Now we are just making assumptions on something that makes sense. So it will be quite interesting to see the hard data. So we don't sound very gloomy. There was a positive in the budget, and that's the fact that the dreaded capital gain tax rates remain unchanged.
Yes.
So that was really, really good news. Everybody cited with big relief. Have you seen anything? Have you seen this affecting the mortgage market?
Not yet. Not
No.
yet. If anything, hopefully it may make some investors decide to stamp up the extra cost of the stamp duty, because, you know, there's been no change in the capital gains tax, but I'm yet to see what will happen with that side of things.
Mm-hmm. And what about the inheritance tax reforms? Have you seen any impact yet on those changes? I think that it's early days to.
Yeah, I think it's early days. We may see sort of higher levels of equity release. You know, maybe we might see homeowners releasing equity from their property to help out first-time buyers with the deposit and things like that, because they'd prefer to, you know, try and, instead of keeping all the equity in their home that will potentially be taxed, you know, maybe they'll try and find ways of releasing some of that to help out their children so they can get on the property ladder. I'm not sure yet. I'm not quite sure how that's going to go.
Yeah, it will be, again, it will be interesting to see what market is doing, and then perhaps next 2, 3, 4 months look at the data and see how this is impacting a whole property market. One thing that I wanted to actually touch, because there have been some changes, and the stamp duty changes have been very significant for the property market. But despite what I've noticed, despite the bars adjustment, England has got still very healthy interest from the buyers. And in fact, just to share with you and with the listeners, according to Rightmove, the number of homes listed for sale in October was among the highest in a decade. Not in last year or 2 years, in a decade, which obviously still shows that there is steady stream of the buyers actively searching, and it certainly gives some sort of positivity to those who are thinking of selling. For example, in our area, 297 properties amongst all the agents came to the market in October, which is 23% more than last year in the same months, believe or not.
That's interesting. And it may actually go hand in hand with what we were saying earlier. People have been waiting. There's been a Bank of England base rate reduction, and then a couple of months later, there's a lot more properties up for sale. Maybe people are just feeling more confident.
Yeah, yeah. And at the end of the day, and we said that in the past, if somebody needs to sell or if somebody needs to buy, you know, they just cannot be waiting for indefinitely. And the UK property market will always remain a unique market in comparison with anything else, because there is just not enough housing generally speaking. This is one of the positive things. And whilst the market has gradually changed, I believe from what I'm seeing that the market remains steady in our area. Properties are selling, people are buying. We just need to really look at if the sellers want to cater also for the investors. The prices really need to be realistic. They need to be realistic in a way nobody is going to overpay. Say back in 2020 when we had stamp duty holiday, everybody overpaid because the property prices went all of a sudden up through the roof. Yes, people saved money on stamp duty, but they overpaid on the price of the home because the demand all of a sudden pushed prices up. So now we need to look at what is the realistic pricing, be realistic about it, and ensure that we cater for those people as well. You might be interested in that in October we saw 197 properties being reduced this year in our area, and in October 2023 it was only 167, which really surprises me that there was higher reduction this year. And it would suggest, obviously, there were many more properties coming on the market, hence, obviously, also more reductions. But it just suggests that there still needs to be a little bit more consideration to what market is actually doing. And from that perspective, if we look also about the sales agreed, so we saw 218 property sales agreed in October. Last year, it was only 149. So this year, 31.65% more property sales were agreed, which is positive news.
That is good. Things are going in the right direction.
Yeah. I would really like to see how it pans out in November. Obviously, we are now coming to Christmas, and a lot of people might be waiting until New Year. However, there are people who will be looking to sell in winter, and there is great benefit of selling in winter. Because if somebody wants to sell in winter, it's generally known phenomena that buyers who are looking to buy in winter are more serious. They have to buy. Rather than oh, it's nice weather, so let's move to countryside.
No, it makes sense. Why wait until it's busier in January? You know, there's more competition.
Exactly. I'm mindful of our time because, as you said, we could be chatting forever about this topic. But Let's just touch a little bit the rental market from the perspective, because we obviously said how challenging the increase in stamp duty it is now for the investors. However, one of the things why the property investment still remains a really good investment option is the rental market, the rent levels remain still very high because there is not enough on the market. And therefore, any property investor who is thinking in investing in the property or wants to increase the property portfolio or wants to consider property investment as one of the viable investments for them needs to understand that the property rental values remain still very high and are not going to go anywhere in foreseeable future. They are going to stay high in our area because it's a really good area with a lot of demand, and I have actually written blogs, so if anybody is interested in reading a little bit more, they can pop to our website at distinct.propertyconsultants.co.uk and look in the blog section for all the facts. What do you think in terms of the rental levels? Is it something that the investors will be interested in terms of the viability of the investment in the property?
Yeah, I think so. I think knowing that the rental income they could achieve, hopefully, as you say, isn't going to decrease anytime soon. Maybe it would still give them the incentive to buy a property, because I suppose the concern is, if there's more properties available, will they have to agree a lower income every month? But if that's not the case, it might just spur people on to continue doing it anyhow. And what I always say to my landlords is you have to see this as a long-term investment, really. It's like any investment. There's going to be bad times and good times, and you've got to ride the storm. And if it's something that you want to keep long term, then I think, is there a right time or wrong time? This is a question I keep getting asked. Well, if it's long term, you're going to have good times and bad times.
Exactly.
So there isn't really a right or wrong time. Just go for it, ride out the good times and the bad times, and see where you're at in years to come. So yeah, I think long-term investment, is still something people should be considering.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's just not anymore. Let's buy the property, give it a lick of paint, and cash in 2 years. It's
exactly.
more, you said, long-term investment. When you are investing in any funds, you are also looking at 20, 25 years, 30 years return, and that's how people need to look at it when they are buying the property.
Absolutely, completely agree. So hopefully that will keep investors feeling strong. If it's a long-term investment, let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we exhausted our topic for this month. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you next month to see what November brings, and let's look a little bit more at the rental market and what the government is doing there. And that will be a very interesting one. And in the meantime, have a really good month, Fiona.
Thank you, and you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.